And I'm going to move the pins slowly because I often find that I forgot to mark something. In this case, it's that notch right there. I can just hear somebody on the video saying, but I want those marks on my pattern piece. So, okay. The pinwheel does look a lot more professional. And if you have one, that's great. You don't want to just use it on your surface unless it's a special surface. But the reason I don't always like to use them is they make even more holes than I just made. Okay, so here's my corner of my dart and my bust point. So I'm just going to connect all of the lines. You're definitely going to want to speed this up. Using the pinwheel is fun, but also a little dangerous. So I've got all of my right angle corners marked, and I can come back in with the curve. It's a little redundant, but it's easier to get pretty curves the second time if you had pretty curves the first time. So whether you do that in 2 steps is up to you. You can just transfer it straight to paper. Let's see how the pencil gets caught in the little dot to dots. Alright, I'm going to fold this and bring one side to meet the other, just to make sure I have a matching curve. So I'm folding it. I kind of made an initial crease mark at each end. And I'm going to hold it still and crease it sharply with my finger all the way out to the edge. Turn it over, push it down. That's called closing cup in the book. Bring the one side to match the other. And while it's folded and lined up exactly in the middle, I'm going to mash down what will become the middle of the dart from the top. A lot of people like to fold that from that part first. Usually turns out a little messier, but it does get the job done. Okay, so this one isn't going to align with the dart properly if I don't bump it up a little bit. And this one, I have my right angle right there. And when this one's coming down to the bottom, it's not making a right angle because the dart is crooked. But I'm trying to stay like the book. In my mind, I am just so much happier with it even. It just makes it awfully close down there. Okay, so if I were to just cut that out right the way it is, that would be our basic sloper front. I won't cut it out until I've matched it up with the paper version of the back. And right here, I can use this curve starting at 2 3/4 down to 5, and that follows my dot to dot. So when I flip it over, 3 3/4 down to 5, I'm trying to find my dots, I have a match. So if I were to use this only for princess lines and curved darts, that's the extra part that would get taken out if you were contouring. So I'm going to take out the ends of it so it's more of a dot to dot effect, because I don't want it to confuse you. And then this other line would be, if you were doing an empire waist, that would be as high as you could come with your empire waist. And if you want me to go over that in class, I will. It's not part of our curriculum this semester, but so much of it is online. I think we'll have time. Okay. Always when you put notches on, they need to be at a right angle with the stitching line. And your stitching line is where the sewing machine is going to sew. If they're at a right angle, they'll always match. If you do them crooked, that can be miserable. So I don't drape them so that I have two of the same side. I don't do them like that. When you look at them together, you always want to be seeing them side by side, because the side seams sew together, and the center front and center back only relate by being parallel to each other. So this one, I'm going to pre-draw that line so that it starts out parallel. This is the end of the dart point. That one right there is going to need to be cleaned up because I didn't do it on the fabric. I made sure the dart was balanced, but I didn't check the curve. It's all marked. Double checking before I take the rest of the pins off. I'm going to make sure that I have 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the dart. Right angle at the bottom. Right angle at the top corner of the neck. Here are my neck corners. And I can't just draw a straight line there because I have to fold the dart before I can connect that straight line. You always need a straight line, but if there's a dart on the seam, it needs to be folded out when you make the dart. Should I be brave and zoom in on that? Okay. So I'm creasing it from the center out. And I creased it on the wrong side because now I'm going to bring the one line to match the other. And when I bring them together, I'm going to mash down that back side. And then I'll line up my ruler on the two ends. And apparently I am zoomed in too tight now. Okay, so I have my lines. This one I can put my right angle at the end of it. But this one I'm going to have to wait. Corner to corner, notches, another right angle, bottom corner. Okay, so this needs to be a right angle too. And I'm going to kind of highlight that so it'll be easier to see where the dots are. And I'm only going to draw the part of the curve that's working. So if I go further than that, it isn't going to blend nicely, so I'm going to move my curve. And blend them together. So the curve isn't just to find curves, it's to make it nice and neat and perfect. That's part of truing and balancing, is perfecting the pattern. Okay, this one I'm going to fold it on this side because I want the flap to go toward the middle. Finding the point and putting my finger there so it doesn't move, and then finding a point there, flattening it between the two and using my fingernail to make it nice and crisp. Then I'll push down on this end, closing cup, and bring the folded edge over to the one that's already there. And when I get it there, I will mash it down from the top. And now it's nice and smooth. So I can connect the right angle I have right here with the right angle I have right here with a smooth curve. So I'm lining up this and I'm pushing it over until it matches up and it blends really nicely. And then I drew the line. And because this is a balanced dart, it's a right angle on both sides of the dart. Now to truly finish this area and the neckline, I need to combine that with my front. So I'm going to fold the paper out of the way so it's just right on that shoulder line. And first I'm going to check and make sure that that lines up, and it does. And this lines up, and that also does. So I'm going to blend it so I can see to do those two. And then I will double check that with my curve. So I have a line that blends from one pattern piece to the other very nice and smoothly. This is a right angle right here, right angle, right angle. And then when this one is folded, it should match up exactly with the other one. So I already have, because these are right angles, that one was easy to do. They just blend between each other. They blend together into a smooth curve. So that was connecting smooth curves with straight lines. And we have our shoulder. I'm going to zoom back out. Okay. And I'm going to fold my front side seam over. Get that one out of the way. And those match up exactly except for the notches. So right angle, smooth curve, right angle, smooth curve. They blend exactly, two right angles coming together exactly down here. And then I'm lining up the line on the side seam and bringing it together. So that process is called truing and balancing. We trued it up to make sure that these two lines that sew together are the same length. These two with this dart folded are the same length. The notches match, the curves match, and that will fit our little form when we're through. And then it needs to be labeled like your labeling handout. But this total is not a right angle. It's less and more, but it totals 180. And so does the neck in the corner.